This has been on the radar for investors for months and months and months and months. Vice Chair Stanley Fischer's term was up next year anyway. Talk to me about the composition of the Fed, how you expect it to change, if at all.
Oh, I think it's going to change quite substantially, and we've just begun to see the beginning of that with Randy Quarles. And of course, there's still a lot of names floating around for people who might replace Janet Yellen should she leave. Also people on the board as well. So I think we're going to see a very substantive change and really more of a shift away from primarily a domination of academics with a more mixture of academics and people who have been involved in the business world.
Mark, does that shift from academia to the business world necessarily mean we're going to have this shift away from a dovish Federal Reserve? It's been a dovish Federal Reserve for a long, long time now. Is that going to change?
I don't think so. I think if we shift to a more business-friendly environment, I think the backdrop would probably be one that probably favors a weaker U.S. dollar. So the administration's been pretty clear that they prefer a weaker dollar. So if there is a new composition at the Fed and it is supposedly supposed to be a little bit more business-friendly, I would anticipate that would be pretty weak for the U.S. dollar.
Another question is what the president wants as he appoints Fed members. I mean, seriously.
He wants to tweet.
But not only do we have quite a few openings at this point, but we have a president who has been actually somewhat conflicted about what he said. Because during the campaign, he said the Fed was at fault because they were keeping the rates too low. Other times he said he likes low interest rates. How much is that exacerbating the situation, Ward?
Well, you raise a very good point because President Trump's comments on the Fed have been conflicted, which is not unusual for President Trump. I think now that he is in the White House, however, what he wants to see is an economy that continues to grow. So he'll be sympathetic to a Fed that is somewhat slow to raise rates. What I do think what we will see going forward is that the Fed, regardless of who comes in after Janet Yellen, and I do think she's going to leave, is going to pursue normalization a little bit more systematically than we've seen so far.